Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Let's first of all discuss the prompt. Can you compare SAT and ACT scores? Let's see. I want everyone at the table chosen to share, and we are a full class at 8 tables. So, the other reason we're going to rearrange is we've got new people and we've lost some people since. All right, so lucky table is table 1. Share your name because everyone's still learning everyone's names and whether you think you can or cannot compare SAT and ACT scores.
Because they're very different tests.
They're very different tests. You agree? Interesting. So by the way, just out of curiosity, are there schools that will accept either one? Then what did they do with 2 different scores if you can't compare them?
Just compare them to the other people, right?
Do they only compare SAT to SAT people and ACT to ACT people?
Well, they're comparable. I'm pretty sure, like the ACT converts to a certain SAT score.
Well, it's not so much that, but I'm going to say I disagree with all the answers shared today. Let's go to your packet. Open up your packet. Because there has to be a way, if a school is accepting both scores, to be able to compare them, right? So for right now, we're going to look at this example. Open up your packet. If you do not have the packet, the blue bin has things from the you guys are second period. I think I forgot to give. No, that was third period. I handed out packets to you guys. So the question is, this is a Skew the Script lesson. I'm actually on a committee with them. I look at their lessons, try to make sure they're unbiased as possible. All right. Did you notice what was my job? Not to make them biased, but to make them unbiased. All right. So this one's not a real hot topic. This is looking and how do we compare. Actually, there is a hot topic. Any basketball fans in here? Not as Jordan, Khan, and Azam, are those my only basketball fans? NBA? Do you guys like the NBA? Who's the GOAT in the NBA? Jordan. That's it? Just Jordan? Nobody's going for LeBron? Huh? All right. So a lot of you think Jordan is the GOAT. Is it kind of hard to compare LeBron and Jordan? They're 2 different eras. But guess what? We can still compare. But we can still compare. That is the beauty of statistics. That is the point of today's lesson, that you can compare apples and oranges. It is. You might have been told, how many of you have heard the saying, you can't, well, they'll usually say you can't add or subtract apples and oranges, or you can't compare apples and oranges. I'm here to tell you they have been lying to you your entire life. Yes, you can compare them on certain measures. Yes. So, all right. So everyone, we've got 2 test takers here. This is my buddy Dash, or Mr. Youngsaver to you guys. And I don't think this is his real SAT score. That looks a little low for him. I think he lowered it on purpose. But his SAT is 1050. And then Guy Fieri's ACT score. Any Guy Fieri fans in the room? Yes, my husband makes me watch grocery games. In fact, he had it on last night. Anyways, so Guy Fieri gets a 23. So Guy Fieri took the ACT and scored 23. The SAT has 1,600 possible points. The ACT has a total of 36 possible points. Who do you think had the better score? Explain your reasoning, and I will pick the quieter table and the table with phones out to share. So the quietest table will share their answer. Hint, we should talk to each other. Random gods have said table 1. I only need one answer from table 1. What did you guys say? You said, did everyone else agree with that? Yeah, okay, so everyone agrees with Guy Fieri. It seems to do better. Why? How'd you figure that out?
You got versus like full score.
Beautiful. That's exactly what we want to do. So up here on top, give me a second. So SAT score is higher because he got 56% on the not while dash YS. I need to go fix that on my. I wrote the wrong guy. I had the wrong guy. Get it? Oh. Dash is this guy. This is my buddy Dash. We're friends on Facebook. We've had dinner together. Oh, Dash did get that higher score? Oh, so it is Guy. So I didn't lie to my first period. That's a good thing. All right. So let me go fix my first period answer because I fixed it, but it wasn't fixed. All right. So it looks like Dash did better than Guy, right? Now, percentile. What is percentile? This could be a controversial, if you want to see a bunch of stats teachers argue, and it's super easy. You just throw a piece of data in front of us and we'll go crazy, all right? Like a bunch of, yeah. All right. Like a bunch of wild dogs. All right. So there is more than one definition to percentile, and it drives us nuts, but this is the one we like. College Board used to use a different one, and we whine and whine. This is everything. So I was like, they used to just say less than. But how do you get 100th percentile if you're the top person, right? Because some of us are 100th percentile, right? Anyways, whatever. So here we are the yearly salaries of employees at a company. So we're going to just very quickly review. That probably looks real familiar underneath that. Isn't this the data we played with a while back? Does that look familiar? That 185, that 67. So let's just remember for large data sets, Q1 is what percentile? 25th percentile, right? Q1 is at the 25th percentile. All right. What the median is at what percentile? Mm-hmm. Pretty easy. Today is a super easy lesson. Isn't that nice? Q3 is at what percentile? Yes. So we're going to go back to our test takers, and we're going to, now we have percentiles here, all right? And we know what Youngsaver scored, right? And we know what Guy Fieri scored. See if you can figure out where they are on this cumulative frequency table. So go ahead and see if you can figure it out. I will share an answer here in a little bit. Okay. So if you marked it, what percentile was Dash at? 45th percentile, because this 1050 is right here. And then Guy was at what percentile? There you go. So based on, let me go ahead and show you what the picture should look like when you draw it on the thing. There you go. Got that? So when you fill it out and you try to fill in the match and you go across the 40th, if you go 18, you can see it comes across the 40th percentile. And the 23, which I think he's a little off here. I'm looking at it. It looks like it's at 24, but whatever. It's supposed to be closer to 23. I just noticed that. I'm going off his key. I would probably actually go just right there and say he's closer. I don't know why it's coming across funny, but oh well, there it is. Okay. So just based on this, is 18 a good SAT score? Yes or no? No. Is it an okay SAT score? Huh? I'd say it's okay. I mean, A score of 18 is at the 40th percentile, meaning you scored at or higher than 40% of students. It's an okay score. You hear about the politician that promised everyone above average pay? You get that joke? You can't promise, not everybody can be above average by definition. Azam just had a revelation. Not everybody can be above average. All right, so it's an 18 score. It's an okay score. All right. Now, Ashley, let's go back and look at something. UT, what they admit what top percent of students automatically? 6% in Texas, right? The top 6%. If you're in the top 6%, you're in. Okay. What percentile is that? 94th is correct. So let's pretend, I'm not saying they do this, but if you're a Longhorn, let's get Longhorn orange. Oops, that's for text. I'm going to do a box. So if I was to do a Longhorn orange, Mrs. Overman wants her Longhorn orange. There we go. Get rid of this brown. Longhorn orange. Change that back to red, whatever that was. Whatever. Okay. So if I wanted to do Longhorn orange, poor Mrs. Overman. There's Longhorn orange. Okay. So if I wanted to do Longhorn orange, they would probably accept definitely a 1500, maybe a little lower, right? Because that's the 95th percentile. So somewhere around there they would accept, right? So close to 1500 if they did it the same way they did for the other. Here, they definitely would accept a score of 32 because that's in the top 3. Oh, I got to go lower. It's down to 94%, isn't it? Yeah, so 94% because they take top 6, not top 4. There we go. Come on. So they would take all the way down here. All of this would make it into UT. And then I got to go down to 94. So somewhere around there. So 31 or higher on your SAT would probably get you into UT, right? I don't know why it doesn't want to let go. Okay. So weird. Okay. So you're applying to an elite college and want to score in the top quartile of test takers, all right? So what would the top quartile of test takers be? So on the SAT, what would it be? I don't know why that's not letting go back there. There we go. Huh? 1250, I think you're right. So let me go ahead. There, purple. 1250 and higher would definitely make it in, right? And what would it be on the SAT? I mean, the ACT? Probably a 25 or higher, right? So those people would make it in. So you need to be in the 75th percentile. That's typically a common error people don't realize. You need to be in the 75th percentile, which is 1250 for the SAT, and 24 or 20, really 25 on the ACT. Let me go ahead and get rid of that 24. Okay. So now that we've told you, you can compare SAT and ACT scores. Otherwise, colleges would have to say, I only take the SAT or I only take the ACT. Now, some colleges do that, but there are plenty of colleges that take either one. So Z-scores measures how many standard deviations a data point is above, not below, above the mean. So a positive Z-score is above average. A negative Z-score is below average. So most times we think above average is a good thing. Is it ever good to be below average on something? How about fouls in basketball? Or let's see, what do they call it in penalties in football? Do you want to be above average or below average? Below average. For some of us, I would love to be below average, but I've been above average all my life. All right. So, well, except when I was in elementary. So there's certain things, track times, right? Any cross-country people in here? Or no? So anything, there are things that you want to be below average. There are things you want to be above average. A positive Z-score is not always a good thing. Okay. Here's Dash looking ever so athletic. And he's playing basketball here. Doesn't he look like an elite athlete? So imagine that he scores 14 points per game. He is kind of tall. In League A, players average 10 points per game with a standard deviation of 2 points per game. In League B, they have the same average points per game, but with a higher standard deviation between them of 4 points per game. In which league is Mr. Youngsaver's performance more impressive? Why? So discuss. Quietest table will share. If there is no quietest table, then I'll use a ring. All right. Thank you. All right. So I actually did get someone to volunteer their answer because I heard them say it. And I said, that was beautiful. Sarah, can you share your answer?
His score is more impressive in League A compared in League A. He's 2 standard deviations away from the mean, but in League B, he's only 1.
Because he's 2 standard deviations. I'm going to provide direction. Is it above or below?
Above.
Above, and above is good in this case. Wasn't that a beautiful answer? But you got another way to look at it. So some of you were asking me about standard deviation. Remember, standard deviation is a measure of how far data is spread out. Do I have more people scoring high points in League A or League B? League B. So his score is not as impressive with those high scorers. Now, admittedly, compared to the bottom of the pile, he's way more impressive than the bottom of the League B. But we're always comparing against the average. We're not really comparing against the low, right? He's in a lower percentile in League B too. Can you see that? Because a greater share of the graph is to the right of 14 points. So standard deviation is a points location in the distribution which depends on both distance from the mean and the distribution spread. Spread can be measured a couple of ways. Standard deviation is one way, IQR is another way. And now we get to the thing, and this class is pretty much saying that Jordan is the GOAT. Is that right? So since you guys are saying Jordan is the GOAT, so what I want you to do, you've already answered this, you need this formula. In fact, this is a major formula for you guys. You will see it the entire year. You might want to box that puppy. That's an important formula on page 13. That's probably going on your 3x5 card for your test. Not the test next class, because this is not on the next test. So page 13, use that formula to calculate their Z-scores. First of all, probably you're stuck on what's what. Here is the data point for the person, which is also known as X of I. Here is the mean. There's the mean right there, right? And there's a standard deviation. So use the formula, calculate the scores. Go ahead and feel free to help each other and check your answers. See if you come to the same solution. So I'll go ahead and share the answers with you. I'll be nice. Someone got 100 on their project. By the way, who had the highest Z-score? Jordan did. Correct. In fact, here's the Z-scores. Let me line them up. There you go. So if you where are my Jordan fans in the room? If you run into a LeBron fan, you can say, hey, points per game. Jordan's Z-score is 3.6. Now, actually, have you guys argued with it? Have you guys argued with LeBron fans before about Jordan? Yeah. What do they normally say? They probably like his two more than, they say he gets more points.
Yeah, more points.
Although technically his data is 27.1 points per game. Uh-huh. So on this one, so the question is, if you're trying to argue with someone about either Jordan or LeBron, first of all, do we measure people by just one stat? No, of course not. So this is just one measure. Michael Jordan, class. Yes. So Michael, first of all, anytime you have a Z-score of 2 or higher, you're already pretty darn good. I mean, Wilt Chamberlain would have a Z-score of 2.8. All right. By the way, they didn't have a 3-point line back in the day when Wilt played. All right. So the Z-score for Wilt is 2.8. The Z-score for Jordan is 3.6. The Z-score for LeBron is 3.4. So just on one measure, one statistic, and we are more than one statistic, I hope, right? This statistic, Jordan seems to be better. All right. So you can say that he's actually in a higher percentile in terms of course, and he's like at the very top because we're talking about the GOAT. We're not talking about just good. We're talking about the GOAT, right? So did everyone get these numbers? 2.8, 3.6, and 3.4? Yes. Okay, so we're feeling pretty good about that part. So let's go to the next one. So sometimes there are players who are not the best. Who has heard of Adam Morrison? Calculate his Z-score. What did you guys get?
Negative 1.1.
Negative 1.1 is exactly right. So if you got a negative score, you should have. A negative score, he got negative 1.1. Okay. And what does that mean? What that means is that, was he above or below average? Below average. That's what a negative means. If I look at the Z-score for my mother's height, definitely negative. She was 4'11". All right. Me, I'm kind of close to the middle. I might be negative. So if the data value is greater than the mean, we say it's positive. Okay, positive. If it's less than the mean, then we have a negative Z-score. All right, and that is the formula again. So you're going to see it a lot. So positive Z-scores means it's above the mean, which is usually a good thing. Not always. And this is below the mean. All right. So we're almost done, believe it or not. So I'm just going to share, like I said before, a person is not a single statistic. A person is not a single statistic. So we could look at other statistics. We could look at percent of shots made. How efficient were they? And you can see that actually Wilt has the best percent of shots made. Of course, you could argue, well, Wilt, there was no 3-point line, so maybe he wasn't pushed to go out and score those 3 points. He probably came in a little more because the most he could score was 2 points a shot. So, and then LeBron's second. Poor LeBron keeps coming in second. And then Jordan's actually on bottom here. So there's a bunch of discussion. I know most of you are not big. Who is not big into basketball? A lot of you. So I'll just show you some of the, you do not have to write these down. This is not really required for the lesson. There we go. So I'm just going to put my discussion here in case you're interested. And for my basketball people, there's one other piece. And this is it. Okay. Our Z-score is pretty easy. Yeah, they're awesome, actually. And now you can finally say, yes, you can compare apples and oranges. All right. I can compare a volleyball player against a basketball player if I wanted to, right? Okay, so one of my students let me use his Kia. If you want to know how you did on an assignment, all right, usually, let's say I click on this one, you can see if you get it correct or not. And sometimes if I have comments, so you can see this is correct and they have the right answer. So you guys might not have noticed that before. Also, if you're doing the review, I don't know if this person did the review yet. Could be they didn't. So you can see how you did. And if you're here, like this one, I haven't graded yet. Right here, I haven't graded this one. Once I grade it, these are multiple choice, so they're auto graded. So I have to go in and figure out the points on this one. So I want to make sure you know about these icons right here. So when I tell you your scores are posted, you can go see your results. Okay? Does that make sense? So I will share that with you this weekend so you can look at your other quiz before you take your test next class.
Oh, yeah.
Outside.